So, hello everyone, good afternoon. I hope you see me and hear me. I'm very happy to be with you, at least on distance. I hope one day also we can meet in other ways of communication. So I'm happy to be with you today and present the story of transport industry. We are living in quite challenging times, probably no one has seen such situations before as we are experiencing. So I would be happy also to listen your feelings, your viewpoint on how your industries are coping with the COVID crisis, and how do you see the further development of the situation?
Thank you, Mr. Minister, for joining us, and I want to welcome you on behalf of the German-Baltic Chamber of Commerce. My name is Florian Schroeder. I'm CEO of the Chamber since now 4 years. It's really an honor to have a very deep dialogue ongoing with the Latvian government as our counterpart. And we're very glad to have you here in person, although being it virtually. But nevertheless, I think it's important that we continue the dialogue. And I welcome also Mr. Bartels, Deputy Head of Mission of the German Embassy, and our President, Kaspars Kalviskis. And I welcome very much our members and friends of the Chamber. We have about 480 members in all 4 countries, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Germany. And of course, some also in the transport sector. And as logistics plays an important role in both our countries. In Germany, it's about over 280 billion turnover, with more than 2.6 million people working there in the logistics fields. And about Latvia, we'll talk a little later, and Kaspars will have some figures about it. And I mean, we all know logistics is a driving force for innovation, and it's actually highly complex because it creates the link between the industry and the consumers. And of course, before that is a supply chain, and our highly complex products today, like cars, are only possible of logistics and of innovations that took place. And I mean, there I see also an area of cooperation. Germany has played a role in innovation in logistics, and I just, in preparation, I found the Logistics Hall of Fame, and I just marked the German names who are there, red. So there's quite some innovations. Of course, there were also other countries like the US and lots of inventions by other countries as well. But I also think in Latvia there is a highly innovative culture and a progressed digitalization. Yeah, sometimes in Germany we are not ahead with the digitalization, and I see there is maybe some possibility of cooperation. And maybe not only in Latvia, but also including Estonia or the Baltic region. I mean, we have all this history with the Hanse, which you could say it's a logistical economic union, yeah. And to bring together this digital logistics and the real economy in a European framework, I think that's something we could work on. And I know that Latvia logistics plays a big role, and we will discuss that. And I'm very happy that we have time here together today. And I'm without any further ado, I would like to hand over now to our president, Kaspars Kalviskis, who is, as an honorary function, our president, but in real life responsible for Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, for Bosch, Robert Bosch GmbH, also a logistical pioneer. Kaspars, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Florian. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Yeah, dear Minister Linkaits, dear Mr. Bartels, dear Florian, dear members, friends and guests of our chamber, it's also a very warm welcome from my side to our today's members meeting, which initially was scheduled for spring, then because of obvious COVID-related reasons was postponed, and now nevertheless we have to hold it in online form, not in personal form, which we definitely prefer. But this is the new reality and we have to live with that. So better to have it than not having it at all. And as Florian already mentioned, logistics are very important for Latvian economy. So, and this is not surprise that among our members are a lot of companies which are active in the field of logistics, transportation, just to name a few of them, and I think the names speak for themselves. Lufthansa, Schenker, Göllner Spedition, Wohlers, Rix, Ace Logistics, Freeport of Riga and Freeport of Ventspils, Sixt, New Yacht Marina, Baltics Bulk, Jungheinrich Lift Trucks, and so on. But logistics and transportation are definitely also very important for other our members, especially to those who are active in manufacturing. And as it was already mentioned, for them, the ensuring of supply chain is very important. My current observations are that logistic connections to Germany are working well. I would even say excellent. They are accessible 24/7. There are several and direct ferry connections between Liepāja and Travemünde. And Germany is the European country with the most flight connections from Riga. And this is true for both before the COVID-19 and also currently, where we have we still have 6 running destinations in Germany. So this is also important to mention. What more? In 2020, German company Flixbus opened regular connections between Warsaw and Tallinn via Riga. The sector itself is very dynamic, but as already the minister mentioned, it's unprecedented challenge now, which we are facing. And just to mention our cornerstone of our aviation industry, Rail Baltica, in first half of this year, the group's revenue declined by 62%. This is something unthinkable in the previous years. And if we drill deeper, then the number of passengers declined by 64% and the number of flights by 58%. These are very impressive figures. If we look on the overall freight transport on land and transport via pipelines, in first half of 2020, it declined by more than 18%, whereas the transportation or volumes which were transported via ports declined by 30%. This is unfortunately, again, impressive and not very pleasant figures. At the same time, I'm quite sure, and I do hope that these very big challenges will boost the necessary changes and also improvements which are required in our transportation and logistics industry. And as far as I know, then our Ministry of Transport has laid a very good foundation for positive development, positive changes in the previous periods. Just to mention that in the last planning period for European funds, the period was from 2014 to 2020. The Ministry of Transport received the most of funding. If I'm not wrong, then it was 26% or 1.16 billion euros, which is impressive amount of money, which was invested in different projects and which definitely helped to develop our transportation system in sustainable and modern way. As far as I know, Mr. Linkaits has started several important initiatives, but also is facing a lot of challenges. Just to name a few of them: the new administration model for ports, opening and liberalization of market for maintenance of the state road network, also to finding financing for the state road network infrastructure in next year, which we just heard in the news, which is very challenging. To mention a few more: restructuring of company Latvia's Dzelzceļš and also the modernization of the railways. Not to mention Rail Baltica project, which should be carried out in smart and good way. And we could continue. For example, the very good initiative to avoid Latvia becoming a destination for old passenger cars for rest of Europe. Again, challenging and not easy to solve. So a lot of important and challenging things. So to be honest, I'm very curious and I'm looking forward for the presentation of the Minister. And to conclude and really hand over and get to the point, to all of participants and especially to the Minister, I would like to wish endurance, patience during the crisis time, and above all, please stay healthy. Thanks.
Great. Without any thanks, Kaspars, for these nice facts and questions also. Without any further ado, I would like to hand over now to Mr. Bartels, Deputy Head of Mission of the German Embassy.
Thank you very much indeed. I just started the video here because we have some problems with the network, so I hope the connection now will be stable enough. It's great to be here today. Thank you very much for the invitation. Mr. Minister, dear President Kalviskis, dear Chairman Schroeder, ladies and gentlemen, the first time I have the opportunity to join you, of course, like everyone, I would have loved to see you in person in a presence meeting. I very much hope there will be opportunity to that later. I arrived here in July, and at least we have now this opportunity to meet. I can make it pretty quick with announcements from here because Corona, of course, has a deep impact on our embassy's life as well. There are not that many diplomatic contacts, as you can imagine, not so many visits. The most important announcement I can make is that we will have a new ambassador, Mr. Christian Held, who will arrive here hopefully next week. He's scheduled to arrive on Wednesday, and he has already an appointment with His Excellency, the President of the Republic, to hand over his credentials on the 17th. So punctually to the national holiday on the 18th, he will be in charge here, and he will be able to be active in the country if everything works out as planned, but we very much hope it will. Like I said, there are not that many visits in sight, actually none at this point of time. We did have a visitor here, though, in the beginning of the month when the situation looked a little bit better, and we had this little short window of opportunity here directly around the Macron visit. Our State Secretary Berger from the Foreign Office was here. It was, to give you an impression of the situation, his second visit anywhere in the world since he assumed office in May. And he had a Baltic 3+1 meeting here with his counterparts from Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. A very good meeting with the whole variety of issues, mainly the regional conflicts here like Belarus and Russia, but also, of course, discussing the outcome so far of the presidency of the European Council of Germany. And there, what will be important for us as the Council presidency in the EU will be, in economic terms, first and foremost, to come to an agreement with the European Parliament on the multi-annual financial framework. We consider it a great success of our presidency that we have achievement and agreement within the Council, but as you all know, this is not sufficient to really close the deal. So we need this agreement with the Parliament, and we're pretty sure that everyone is doomed to succeed here. We cannot afford not to, but at the same time, it's not really easy talks. So there are a lot of expectations in the Parliament, some disappointments about areas where they would have loved us to spend a little bit more money. But of course, there are limits to that. So we remain optimistic, but we know that there is a lot of work ahead of us. Just to give you a very short insight into our opinion on the situation here in Latvia. You know that COVID-19 has an impact here now too. Latvia was for a long time more or less the champion of the European Union. One needs to realize that the country is still doing much better than most European countries, including Germany. So even today we have about 50 cases less here in Latvia per 100,000 inhabitants within 14 days than in Germany. So in our opinion, the country and the government are on the right track. What they do is the same which we do. They try to adjust carefully, not to damage the economy too hard, but at the same time to make everyone understand how serious the situation is. Just like the Chancellor made it today in the German Parliament, the day after the federal government and the state governments in Germany have agreed on, well, you may call it as a lockdown light. We, of course, try to avoid anything that includes the name lockdown. But yes, there will be severe restrictions in daily life in Germany during the whole month of November, which is not the jolliest of months, but there is no alternative to that. And we try to convince everyone to stick to that and to be aware of his interpersonal responsibility. Well, so unfortunately, I can't present anything happier than this, but again, it's good to see how well our governments are cooperating here, and that also within the European Union, I think we are getting better to come to agreements and to strengthen our cooperation when fighting this pandemic. And with this, well, we will continue to drive on site and hope for better days to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bartels. That was a really a substantial update and some good news. We will welcome the new Mr. Ambassador held very much in Latvia next week then, and that's really good news because cooperation is strong, and it's great to have Ambassador back on board, so to say. And we have a very good cooperation always with the embassy, of course. And I want to thank you and the colleagues also for the support during the crisis and also before and after. And it's really a big help and boost. And thanks for joining us with this good news. Yeah, and in fact, Germany lockdown light. But what I think there were lessons learned, and one of them certainly, and Madame Merkel said it explicitly, and also the chairman of the federal prime ministers, that we really try to keep the economy going as much as possible, as long as possible, as intense as possible, because we cannot have this collateral damage which happened in the first lockdown, because everybody just did not know what to expect. And so I think we got smarter. And so that's also some good news. Mr. Minister, just 3 minutes. We have a 3 minutes update on the chamber events coming up from our head of country, Mr. Balčons, and then we are very much looking forward to your keynote, Mr. Minister. Maris, the floor is yours.
Jā, labdien, ministra kungs, labdien, mīļie biedri. Ja, guten Tag, Herr Bartels. Hello, liebe Mitglieder. I'm pleased to have all of you on today's evening. We managed to hold a few events in September offline, and thanks to those, we were able to meet in person during these meetings. But now we switched to online events, and this members meeting is the first in the line of member meetings for this autumn. Please mark in your calendars the next meeting on November 25th. At the same time as today, 4 p.m. And the topic for this meeting will be economic forecast for 2021. And our Bank of Latvia, Martin, one more meeting for this autumn. Our honored guests will be the mayor of Riga City Council, Martin Staķis. And the topic will be development, new development and vision of the capital, of our capital. Yeah, the most of our members are located in Riga, and I hope this topic will be interesting for the most of us. We have several webinars in preparation with our members as well, and we'll be able to come up with dates very soon. I hope you missed our annual German-Baltic Business Award. Under current situation, we could not arrange this event, but we decided to have this this competition digitally. And currently, the application is running. Every year we have a special topic for this award, and this year we changed cybersecurity. Yeah, the digital life is increasing in all, by all of us, and it is very important issue. We have an excellent jury for this award. Among others, we have President of German Cybersecurity Council. We have a representative of G-Data Security Lab, IT security company from Germany. So the reward will be participation in an event in Germany and support for market entry. So please inform your partners, maybe apply yourself for the award. The application is possible until, like, remind you, dear members and guests, we are going digital also at the AHK, and we developed during the first lockdown an app, AHK app. It is possible to download via Google Play or App Store, and it is yeah, we are proud of. It is we are one of the first AHKs worldwide who has developed such a multifunctional app that gives a possibility to communicate among the German community here, among this 480 members, exchange contacts, get informed. So it was planned to stream via AHK app today's event. It would be held offline, so it is technical. Join us via app. So that will be all from my side. Thank you to the minister for participating at this event, and thank you to Ilse Salno and Ilse Baumann, advisors of minister for operational implementation of this today's event. Yeah, thank you, Florian.
Great. So now we are all ears and to listen to your keynote, Mr. Minister. The floor is yours.
Yeah, once again, thank you so much for having me today on your meeting. There are pros and cons of having these online discussions. One additional benefit of this is that you can be in many places at once. Actually, in parallel, now we are having a European transport ministers conference in Passau under the German presidency of EU, and I'm happy just to switch a bit for an hour to your event out of the EU activities. So it's for me a really great pleasure to present activities of the Ministry of Transport in Latvia, and I would like to show first of all the general presentation. I hope it's now on screen.
Yes, it is.
Yes, and when we started work in this ministry already more than a year ago, in January 2019, we thought what could be the difference between a typical transport minister and the minister coming from newly elected new parliament party called New Conservatives. And one of the major aspects we are focusing in New Conservatives Party is anti-corruption. It's law and justice and honest and smart policy making. And also we try to apply the same principles in the Ministry of Transport. We would like to ensure transparency and anti-corruption in all our activities. When we are planning our activities, we are goal-oriented, based not so much on short-term activities. Of course, short-term activities are very important, but what is relevant for the industry is to have a long-term visions in all major fields of our sector. Then it's a more human approach to the transport policy. For many years in Latvia, the focus had been on cargo flows, on infrastructure for the cargo flows, and our intention was to focus more on public transport, on intermodality, on human behavior on the roads, on safe driving, on the quality of public service and similar activities. Of course, we do not neglect the cargo operations in Latvia, but simply to give more attention to the human factor within the transport policy. And another principle is to look at the public companies that are under the supervision of the Ministry of Transport, and there are quite many. The transport sector, the state has quite an influence in the transport sector. We have state-owned airport, partly state-owned airline, state-owned railway system, postal system, air traffic control, and some other companies. So for these companies, we are discussing with the management boards and supervisory board how to become more competitive within the environment that we have. How to become up to date to the IT systems, to the up to date towards the clients, more client oriented, also more human oriented, to make sure that there is satisfaction of the services we are providing as a state companies. And also we're looking for different potential developments where our companies can grow, and surprisingly also in some very specific sectors like air traffic control. We are looking at export potential of our services to other countries which are open to tender their services. For example, in Norway, we are looking for some contracts. We have provided already services to Lithuania, looking at United Arab Emirates and similar, where we can use our cost basis and our already high quality product to offer in another country. Certainly my personal attitude is that I would like to understand and follow in quite detail what is happening in the industry, how people react to what we are proposing as a state institution, as a government, what is the reaction and how to respond in a better way. It's quite funny. I remember when I first started the so-called weekly business meetings with the CEOs of our companies. Then my first request was to not talk wishy-washy fairy tale stories, but focus on problems and challenges in each case. So I'm happy that our business meetings, daily business meetings, weekly meetings have become more focused on more challenge and problem oriented. But of course, the large transport sector is not without challenges. If we even set aside the COVID crisis, which has poured on us a lot of new issues. Even before that, we saw that the public transport system in Latvia was kind of outdated. If we compare to Estonia, to Finland, we were more protectionism oriented. There were many bus companies, for example, operating in a small passenger market, and now we are organizing a tender for public bus services and trying to change the whole public transport system. From the infrastructure point of view, the major challenge is railway infrastructure and building the totally new infrastructure for the whole 3 Baltic countries, Rail Baltica network from north to south, affecting not only international business of our 3 countries, but also affecting human lives of those living in surroundings of this new infrastructure, also affecting potential transport system in the future in our countries. Road long-term development strategy, which we are developing and actually already approved by the Road Development Council. I will touch upon it later. And a road maintenance sector, what we would also like to open for the competition in years to come. If we speak about Rail Baltica, then the general perception from outside is that this is railway line which will connect 3 major cities, Tallinn, Riga, Kaunas, with a potential also connection to Vilnius, and then it will go to Poland. If we look more closely, then this railway corridor is being built basically on an empty place where never before had been the railway line. So it means we try in a more efficient, effective way connect the Baltic capitals and the most advanced development centers with a high-speed railway line. But I personally see also this as an opportunity to create additional transport links within our country, create new public transport opportunities which have never existed. For example, our intention is to connect Riga city center with airport. With these will be 2 international stops in Latvia, which will make sure that the catchment area of Riga airport will grow significantly. So there will be opportunity to fly into Riga, then use train to Panevėžys, to Pärnu, and vice versa. With this new line, there is opportunity, as I mentioned, for the surroundings of this railway line, and particularly I would like to mention the airport city, which has even now with the COVID situation, which has big potential on developing additional infrastructure for the business park, for cargo areas. There's intention to create new hotel areas, also specific link between the airport terminal and the airport station, with the possibility also to have luggage being delivered directly from the check-in counters in Riga Central Station directly to the plane, as it is in other large airports. And there will be also quite a large park and ride area, parking facilities which allow those coming with private cars from Kurzeme region to park the car and then go directly by train to Lithuania, to Poland, or further to Europe. In Riga city, this new Rail Baltica infrastructure is kind of a catalyst for urban development around the central station. We intend, together with the Riga City Council and together with other involved parties, renovate the whole area around the central station, around the international bus station, open up those areas which are now currently covered by this railway line. We will lift it up a bit and allow to have a free passage below the railway line, also to have businesses below railway line, like it is, for example, in Berlin. We have started actually the planning and building phase with the Riga Central Station. On 17th of November, we will officially start the building process. We'll officially start the building of the whole line with the central station. Itself, it is quite a complex exercise to build the railway station while it is still in operations, and at no one point of time there will be stop of the services. So it's it will be built in several phases to make sure that it does not make harm to existing railway line, but we will be building basically the parallel infrastructure of European gauge railway line, and of course it will be also visibly different railway station as we used to see it currently in Riga. Apart from the international traffic and apart from international cargo traffic, we tend to use this Rail Baltica railway station for regional public transport. We are currently planning 17 regional stations or points on the line where the regional trains will be operating, and this will provide, as I mentioned, totally different service to those areas which are connected by Rail Baltica link. For example, Salacgrīva on the northern side of Latvia will have a connection to Riga 50 minutes by train, and this will make them as a kind of a suburban area of Riga agglomeration. The same with Iecava and Bauska on the southern side of this network. We also intend to build specific terminals, cargo terminals, and we are open for the private sector to connect to the Rail Baltica link. There already had been several offers, and we have had discussions with several logistics centers who would like to connect to the Rail Baltica railway line directly. We will have additionally also the first two-level bridge across the Daugava River, where on the basic level will be the railway infrastructure, and on the top there will be the road infrastructure. So we, together with the Rail Baltica railway line, we will also update and make up-to-date the Riga bypass circle, and we'll create a different form of this bypass across the Daugava River. And this leads me to the road network long-term strategy, which we have developed during the last year in cooperation with and consultation with the industry, with municipalities, the experts, the parliament, and others involved. And when I came to the ministry, it was quite surprisingly to me that there were no long-term plans in Latvia with regard to the road infrastructure. There were only 2-3 year plans, and that's it. And when I was confronted with my colleagues in Lithuania and Poland, when they asked what are your plans on Rail Baltica road network, when are you going to upgrade it to 2+2, or similar other questions, actually we didn't have the correct and official answer. Now it is approved, and at least we have a vision. It's not certain that we fulfill all the vision, but at least we have something to base our infrastructure investment plans on, and some kind also on the quality of the road infrastructure we would like to achieve on the major roads. And that is kind of a motorway, which is similar to other 10T corridor roads with a speed limit of 130 kilometers per hour, with a specific standard for such a kind of road. And the first of such roads we are planning to have on Riga bypass, as I mentioned, across Daugava River, and also towards Jelgava and Sigulda, which quite correctly corresponds to the plans of our neighboring countries. We are in touch, and we are following the development of similar activities in Lithuania, where there is quite a substantial plan of upgrading road network, and with some jealousy I follow the development of roads from Kaunas towards the Polish-Lithuanian border, and also on the other side of the Polish-Lithuanian border, how Suwalki-Belostok Lodge network is being built. We simply have to follow this path. And also on the Estonian side, I know that my colleague, the Minister of Economic Affairs and Communication, is planning a 4-lane highway network. We have also had exchange of experience on using public-private partnership as a mechanism for financing such a road network, and that's the main intention Estonian government to finance in a way of public-private partnerships. We start with Čekava bypass as a first serious public-private partnership project. It is already approved in general. We are in the process of negotiating the contract with service providers, and I'm looking forward that next year, at least the designing of the bypass will start. This long-term strategy has, of course, some cost associated with it, but we have set the sequence of this high-speed road network, how we are going to build it. It depends on the finance availability, not only the state budget funding, but also we are looking at EU funds. We're looking at, as I mentioned, public-private partnerships, but at least we have a kind of structured plan which we are going to follow and implement. Another topic, as I mentioned already, is the public transport network in Latvia. We would like to shift more from private cars to public transport. We would like to encourage people to use public transport. I hope this COVID one day will disappear or change its form, so we can come back to this concept of sharing car, sharing public tram or bus. And our intention is to make the service, public service, more attractive, more client-oriented, more in a better quality. So we have approved new concept of the public transport in the government, and with a more focus on the railway sector, where the bus services will be only complementary to the railway sector. We're looking at opening up or liberalizing the public bus services, first in the Riga agglomeration on those routes which could be profitable, for example, Riga-Jūrmala, Riga-Ogre, and we will try also first long distance route to Riga-Daugavpils to offer for commercial services without limitations. So those routes which are in parallel with the railway system will be offered and will not be subsidized by the state budget. We're also looking at integrated transport solutions. Together with Riga municipality, new administration of Riga municipality, with the Riga, the Riga agglomeration municipalities, we are currently now preparing quite ambitious plan for changing the public transportation system in Riga and Riga, for creating multimodal exchange points, creating a common or integrated ticketing system, and some other activities. We also support more the urban transport, climate-friendly urban transport in other cities. Here you can see the first new tram coming to Liepāja. I hope in November this tram will already be on the streets of Liepāja. And we also will provide substantial support via EU funds to Daugavpils, the second largest city of Latvia, also to create an attractive tram network and greening their bus services. In other smaller cities, we offer electro buses or hybrid buses as a basis for local public transport. As I mentioned, the backbone of the transport system is planned to be the railways. Škoda, the producer of the new wagons, promised us to deliver the first new equipment, new trains in May 2022. Currently, we are running the competition for the design and build of new stops, railway stops, and uplift of the current ones. There is also new equipment of our state-owned railway operator, and other uplift of services that could attract more customers to public transport with a better service, better quality, better accessibility that would attract to the public transport network in Latvia. And last but not least, we are in the process of changing the governance of state-owned ports. So in Latvia, we have 3 major ports: Riga, Ventspils, and Liepāja. We intend, at least intention is, to corporatize these ports, to make managers more accountable for their activities in the port area, so to have professional managers in our ports, and also to somehow stimulate the port sector, which is having quite challenging times at the moment, to look for more efficient way of using the available resources, also look at different possibilities to cooperate between the ports in order to use these resources in a better way, and to cooperate among the ports to offer joint services outside Latvia. So the port reform is currently under the preparation. We intend in a few weeks' time, if everything goes smoothly, to offer it for the government discussions. So that's in general about the sort of daily business, and I will be glad to answer your questions. I'm very happy that our cooperation with Germany is among the most traditional and successful. I personally, when I worked as a consultant, I also served for German government as a development consultant, so I'm happy to help also German businesses if it is necessary in Latvia. Thank you.
Great, Mr. Minister. I think that was a very comprehensive, compact overview, and it really shows that you induced some long-term strategic planning into the transport infrastructure of Latvia, and that's certainly good news. Yeah, let me start with the ports, because that was the last topic you also mentioned. And yeah, we always, there's competition, yeah, among everywhere, but also between the Baltic states. And yeah, in preparation, I was wondering, how do you explain that Klaipėda is growing, whereas the Latvian ports, they're still the biggest volume, yeah, in the 3 Baltic states. You're still #1, but when you look at the dynamics, there has been some also decline in some areas. What is your explanation? One thing you have kind of hinted, yeah, governance structure already, but are there other reasons for that, and what could be done against that?
Yeah, that's a very straightforward question. And actually, this morning I started my day with Irish Chamber of Commerce discussion on a port governance, and there was this question how the governance is related to the actually performance of our Latvian ports, and how to compare it with our neighbors. I would say that historically, probably we have had some differences in diversification of the flows of cargo, and Latvian ports historically have been more oriented to the transit. Even if we look back during the Soviet time, Ventspils port was a major export port for the oil and oil products of Soviet Union, and this somehow is still inherited in our operations, that our terminals used to have good contacts or close contacts with the Russian producers of oil products, of coal and different other materials, and during good times it paid off, of course, but during the bad times, when we see that Russia has its own strategy on port development and on shifting from exporting via neighboring countries towards their own ports, we see that these first of all, these strategic goods like oil and oil products were shifted first. This year we see shift of the coal, and also demand of the coal has decreased because of the climate change and because of the policies of EU countries and similar. So there are obvious reasons why we fail, sort of. And with regard to Lithuania, of course, they have only one port, and that's kind of a benefit. So they do not have excessive capacity. So they have enough capacity exactly for the flow that they work for. I look with deep interest to the relations between Lithuania and Belarus, because Lithuania had been quite active in attracting these goods from Belarus. There are different rumors or stories how this will develop, and how the latest political changes in Belarus could influence also the flow of these goods.
Yeah, that was also one argument I had in mind. Thanks for a very open answer. And I think it's very good to look at the situation as it is, and then try to move forward. We have a question from our audience, from Evia Birsnice, regarding Air Baltic. So she's asking that she read in one of the latest publications that there could be additional financial help for Air Baltic within the end of next year. And she would like to know if and how that aligns with the European Commission competition rule. Maybe that's more a question to ask Brussels, but maybe you have also some thoughts. I mean, I can say that Air Baltic plays a very important role for Latvia. That's obvious. And even me personally, when I had to choose where will I locate, in Tallinn, Riga, or Vilnius, at the end, I choose Riga also because the connectivity of the airport, and that came with Air Baltic. And that's a big plus, which will become, I think, even more important if we look post-COVID.
Yes, you are absolutely right. If you look again about the 3 Baltic countries and the strengths in each country of the specific transport sector, then one can say that in Lithuania, this is the railways, the strongest sector. In Estonia, we always think about Tallink, the maritime sector, as the strongest branch. And in Latvia, it's certainly aviation, which serves to all other countries as well as a kind of connecting service to the Europe. And all in all, the aviation sector, not only Air Baltic, but also the connected businesses create approximately 3.5% of GDP in Latvia. And that's quite essential part of our national economy. And therefore, for us, it is very important to make Air Baltic efficient company. And I think Martin Gauss has done quite a lot in order to make it efficient with quite a low cost, focused on one type of aircraft and focused with a good image and good export promotion and a good story, development story behind Air Baltic. But of course, the COVID situation actually makes us asking the question, what is the future of aviation for the upcoming years? And it's very much linked with what could be the forecast of the situation. When we started the year, we started in spring with assumption that this will be one-off event which will happen in spring and then probably disappear. Then we moved a bit, and in summer, when the government approved the plans for support state aid of the airline and also other companies, then assumption was that, well, there might be the second wave, and then it will disappear or be less and less active. Now I see very different scenarios, and probably you as well are following quite closely what are the forecasts and scenarios. And I see some experts saying, well, maybe in 2024, maybe 25, the situation will come back as it used to be in 2019. So we are all carefully monitoring the situation, and the state aid is being provided on the assumption that that situation becomes better. If not, if it will remain on a low level as operations of aviation, if passenger aviation, I mean, remains on a low level, then of course there always is a limit how long you can keep the businesses in such situation. And I believe the similar challenge is not only for Air Baltic but also for Lufthansa. You probably the same questions the management is asking, and for how long. I know that in aviation now it's not the profitable rate, but the cash burning rate, which is important, how many millions you burn every day, and for how long you can keep in such way. And I believe if we come back next year and see that this situation is dramatic, then probably also state aid rules will be changed in Europe. It will not be changed specifically for Air Baltic, but for the whole aviation sector. And not only aviation, because we see the same trend also in other, not only international passenger traffic, but also local traffic. We see that this pattern is very similar to aviation pattern, how much people are willing to use public transport instead of working on a distance, not bringing people to school or similar. So these challenges will be for all of us open, I think, next year today, so I cannot say precise answer what happens and whether there will be a need for additional state aid and what rules will be actually next year for this situation.
I'm sure you will have also the support of German government because we experienced the same with Lufthansa now, and I mean, there's been discussion in aviation industry for long about the help, like in the Gulf Airlines, Etihad or UAE, they have, or even Turkish Airlines, I mean, there's always been these discussions, and there was a lot of complaint about European airline that they have no level playing field with others using it more smartly or undercover state aid kind of thing. But I think the discussion with COVID will change a bit, and we as a German companies or German Latvian companies will make our part, and I encourage everybody to I mean, to careful travel and to really observe the rules, but also not to have panic, and when it's necessary. I think then it's still possible, and that's very important also to keep the links, as long as possible, keep the contacts between us European countries alive, because there are necessities, and I mean, if we cut these links, we kind of go back I don't know how many years in history and efficiency, and and I know you are also a strong ambassador in your government to keep these linkage open, and we as business community, I can only say it's very important, and I thank you for that, raising also there the concern of business for that. And let's please be smart, even if the pandemic goes higher, let's shut down the virus and not the economy or not the logistics infrastructure. That there has to be one very careful, because it creates damage. I do not see many questions right now. I just then will use one opportunity to say we have two big fairs in Germany where we have also Latvian participation. It's the InnoTrans in Berlin and the Transport Logistica in Munich. Both have a bit of a different profile, and let's once COVID's over, let's also see how we maybe can invite you, Mr. Minister, to one of them in the future, and to see that we can raise the profile of the logistics sector in Latvia on these really international high profile affairs, and we've done that. There's a final question of Mr. Schneider, maybe, and then we'll wrap it up. Good to hear ambitious long-term plans for road and railway, but recent day there was information news that for next year there are only very few investments, repairs, plans due to need in other areas of the government budget. Can you comment on this? How could this be improved? Maybe a final comment from your side. Is there already kind of now budget cuts or for next year, or actually at the moment quite straightforward?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Our government, similarly to other governments, we are faced with this new situation when there is an obvious downturn of our economy due to COVID crisis, and the one question is how to, as you mentioned, to still keep the economy running, how to make sure that people are earning money, and probably this situation in spring paid some lesson to us, that if you shut it down immediately, then you have a big cut on the revenue side of the public and also the private sector, and this we would like to avoid by all means, and also quite a challenging task is to create the state budget for the next year in such situation when you have a sort of downturn of economy. And we intend, of course, to stimulate investment, capital investment in our economy, in a building sector, in a road sector, but with different means. There are also quite high demands and expectations from this public sector of education and healthcare. Especially, we have to pay actually additional quite a lot to the healthcare workers, so they still are being motivated to work during these circumstances. So that what is going out right now, these are discussions for the state budget of the next year, where every branch is moaning and groaning for how less money we have, and our intention in Ministry of Transport is to attract more EU funds or special recovery facility funds for the benefit of the infrastructure. Probably next year there will be less investment directly from the state budget, but there will be more investment from other sources, with intention, of course, in the next upcoming years to compensate this issue. So thank you so much for this quite open discussion what we are having, and I wish all the best to German community here in Latvia and also in all Baltic countries, and I really hope that one day we will meet in person, not by distance, and I'm ready also to attend the logistics conferences as you mentioned, and be more promotive to the logistics sector. I know you are active, and this is quite a challenging time for logistics. I'm happy that at this moment the borders of the countries are not closed, but still there are so many changes of the flows of different cargo goods and spare parts and so on. So this is feel smart, stay safe and healthy.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. That was a great final remark. I wish everybody of our members the same. Stay safe, stay healthy, and all the best, and see you soon. Thanks a lot. Ciao.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.